Hi again, it's Jemila of Circumspecte.com, and we're continuing our series on Circumbites on digital content creation and blogging. If you haven't watched the first two episodes, I highly recommend that you do because it's going to feed into today's episode. Those of you who did watch the first two episodes, the main things to consider when you're thinking about creating content online or starting a blog are: one, why do I want to start blogging or creating digital content? And two, what kind of content do I want to create? Now, this leads to the third important question that you need to consider and explore before you actually launch into content creation. And it is one of the things that many bloggers actually do not think about, or many content creators do not think about, which is unfortunate because it really opens up a world of possibilities and also helps you gain clarity and be more targeted with the kind of content that you're creating. And that question is, who am I creating this content for? Who am I creating this content for? When I first started creating content and blogging, it was very clear to me who I was creating the content for, right? I was creating content for people like myself, people who were probably African, world citizens who cared about things like economic policy, social impact, human rights, and who were trying to figure out life. At the time, I was in my early 20s, and so it's also for that demographic of young people. This affected the language that I used on my platform. I was very conversational. Sometimes I read my old blogs and I'm just like, wow, like I was chatty, and kind of like girl next door, friendly vibe to a lot of my posts. Over time, the demographics of my readership or Circumspect's readership have shifted. And so we have people who are still within the demographic of young Africans doing amazing things, going places, but we also have people who are more geared on the serious-minded side. So they are in business or they are policy makers. I have to be aware of the fact that we have that population also consuming Circumspect's content because it influences the kind of content that we create. So these days, Circumspect's tone and language borders on still friendly, but also a bit serious. And of course, it depends on the kind of posts that we would be putting forth. So we are the kind of people that you can approach and ask any question, and we will tailor our responses based off of your background or your demographic or what you're looking for. So it's really important to take some time and envision who you are creating the content for. If you're creating the content for teenagers or really vibrant young people in the creative arts space, for example, you have more flexibility with how you use language and tone and colors and all of this stuff. If you're creating content for a business demographic, other businesses, maybe in the banking sector, the kind of language that they use is decidedly different from what someone would use in, let's say, the fashion space where things are a bit more fluid and flexible. So being aware of who you are creating content for will also be important. Another reason why you should figure out who you are creating content for is that it might end up influencing the kind of content you create. If you're creating content for busy professionals, you're probably not going to put up a 50-minute video because they're probably not going to be able to watch it. They're busy. So you're going to go for more shorter form video content, for example, although most of the world gears and gravitates towards short form video content because it's snappy and easy to consume. It might also influence something like your platform, right? What blogging platform you choose. I'll give you an example. One of the things I love doing at Circumspect is I'm a creative person. And so I like to switch up my, in quotes, office from time to time. And by office, I mean the website, right? Because that's what most of you interact with, and that's what I interact with on a day-to-day. Every year, I would switch up my template. Now, this was probably back in 2010. I switched up my template because I found this amazing template which had like these sliding bars at the top, right? And I thought that it would be a fun way of showcasing our content to our readers. Now I changed it, and then I started getting comments from my readers saying they couldn't load the page. At the time, I was based in the US, and so the internet speeds in the US made sense for that content that I was creating. But a big part of who I was creating content for were for other Africans and Ghanaians. And in Ghana and Africa at that time, the internet speeds were slower, which meant that that template never fully loaded, or took such a long time to load that they would just leave the website. In which case, the content that I spent time creating never actually got to them. I had to take a step back and change the template again, because at the end of the day, I knew who I was creating that content for. And if the template that I was using didn't allow them to get the content, then what's the point? Figure out who you're creating content for, and tied to that, ask yourself where they are, how they're getting online, maybe which platforms they tend to focus on. And that will help you create content that is not only great, but that gets to the people that you're trying to get it to. That's it for today's Circumbyte. I hope you found this useful and insightful. If you're watching this video on any other platform apart from Instagram, I suggest that you follow me and Circumspect on Instagram, because that's where you're going to see the full series. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Don't forget your action point. Figure out who you are creating that content for.